The year was 1863, a time when the weight of British rule had already settled heavily over India. For 5 years, the country had been a colony, its people adjusting to the new reality. Calcutta, a bustling city, was alive with the mingling of cultures, though tensions simmered beneath the surface. The streets echoed with the sounds of horse-drawn carriages, vendors shouting their wares, and the distant hum of the Hooghly River. Amidst this, an unlikely partnership began to take shape. In a modest building, away from the chaos, a group of Indians and Englishmen gathered. Bound by a shared vision, they put aside their cultural differences and mistrust. Despite the barriers of race and empire, they worked together with a single goal in mind: to create something new, something powerful, that would outlast the forces dividing them. That day, the Calcutta City Banking Corporation was born. It was more than just a bank. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when differences were set aside in the name of progress. The group of founders, from vastly different worlds, shared a handshake, not just of business, but of hope. In the heart of a divided city, they had planted a seed of unity. In 1864, just a year after its humble beginnings in the bustling streets of Calcutta, the bank took a bold step forward. It opened its first branch in the heart of London, a city that pulsed with the power of the British Empire. The streets of London were lined with grand buildings and ambitious businessmen, but when word spread about the new bank's origins, there was an unexpected reaction. The name of the bank, Calcutta City Banking Corporation, sparked amusement among the London elite. The very idea of a bank named after an Indian city, with directors who didn't fit the polished image of the English financiers, was met with uncontrollable laughter. In drawing rooms and taverns alike, the name became a joke, and the bank's founders soon realized that their ambition was being overshadowed by the giggles of those they sought to impress. Faced with this wave of mockery, the directors of the bank made a strategic decision. They shed the name that tied them too closely to their origins and adopted one that would command respect across borders. The Calcutta City Banking Corporation was reborn as the National Bank of India, a name that carried both prestige and promise. The laughter faded, and in its place came quiet admiration. The bank was no longer a punchline. It had transformed into a symbol of global ambition, ready to thrive on the world stage. By the early 1900s, Kenya was firmly under the control of the British East African Protectorate. Nairobi, a once humble railway depot, was transforming rapidly. Recently incorporated as a township, the city buzzed with life, a crossroads of traders, settlers, and workers. Streets once quiet were now bustling with carriages, bicycles, and throngs of people moving through markets and newly built shops. Business was thriving. The fertile lands of the highlands were attracting European settlers, and the railway that connected Mombasa to the hinterlands was opening up endless possibilities for trade. Coffee, tea, and sisal flowed out of the region, while goods and machinery were imported to support the growing settlements. Money was changing hands faster than ever before. In this whirlwind of growth, it became clear that Nairobi needed more than just markets and traders. It needed a bank. The hustle of commerce brought with it a demand for financial services, a safe place where capital could be stored, loans issued, and businesses supported. The town, on the brink of becoming East Africa's economic hub, was ready for the next step in its evolution. The need for a bank had never been more urgent, and it was only a matter of time before one arrived to answer the call. In 1904, amidst Nairobi's rapid transformation from a railway stop to a bustling township, the National Bank of India made a bold move. It became the first bank to set up shop in this growing frontier. The bank's new branch was modest, a small tin shack nestled along Government Road, which would one day become the bustling Moi Avenue. Though the structure was humble, the ambitions behind it were grand. Despite its simple appearance, the tin shack quickly became a hub of financial activity. Traders, settlers, and local businesses began to rely on the bank as they navigated the growing economic opportunities in the region. One of the early customers to walk through its doors was the Stanley Hotel, which was fast becoming a landmark in Nairobi. This partnership marked the beginning of the bank's deep ties to the city's development. From its tin-roofed branch, the National Bank of India supported Nairobi's booming businesses and helped fuel the township's growth, laying the foundation for what would become East Africa's thriving financial center. By 1928, the National Bank of India had outgrown its humble beginnings. The once small tin shack along Government Road had served its purpose during Nairobi's early years, but the bank's rapid growth and success now demanded something more befitting its status. With the city evolving into a vibrant commercial hub, the time had come for a grander home. The bank's directors set their sights on creating a landmark building that would not only serve their customers but also stand as a symbol of their success. For this ambitious project, they turned to Cobb and Archer, the most prestigious architectural firm in Kenya at the time. Known for their stunning designs and ability to blend elegance with function, the firm was the obvious choice. Cobb and Archer envisioned a structure in the neoclassical style, characterized by grand columns, intricate detailing, and a sense of timeless solidity that would anchor the bank's presence in Nairobi for generations to come. Construction began in 1928. As the foundations were laid and scaffolding rose, the city watched in anticipation. Over the next 3 years, brick by brick, the neoclassical masterpiece took shape. Finally, in 1931, the building was completed, a gleaming symbol of the National Bank of India's success and Nairobi's rise as a financial powerhouse. The grand new outlet stood proudly along Government Road, its stately facade and impressive architecture reflecting the bank's commitment to growth and prosperity in the heart of British East Africa. By 1958, the National Bank of India had already established itself as a powerful force in East Africa's financial landscape. Seeking to expand its influence and combine strengths, the bank completed a major merger with Grindlays Bank, forming a new entity known as the National and Grindlays Bank. This merger cemented the institution's dominance across the region, positioning it as a key player in the rapidly changing colonial economy. As Kenya inched closer to independence, winds of change swept through the nation. The new government, keen on asserting control over critical sectors, turned its focus to the banking industry. In a bold move, the government acquired a 60% share of the National and Grindlays Bank, securing a majority stake in one of the country's most influential financial institutions. By 1970, just a few years after independence, the Kenyan government took full control of the bank. The era of colonial ownership had come to an end. In a symbolic and historic step, the bank was renamed Kenya Commercial Bank, KCB, reflecting the country's new identity and aspirations. Now fully Kenyan-owned, KCB would go on to play a pivotal role in shaping the nation's economy, becoming a cornerstone of Kenya's financial sector. After the government of Kenya assumed full control of the National and Grindlays Bank and rebranded it as Kenya Commercial Bank, a strategic decision was made regarding the bank's grand neoclassical building on Government Road. The government decided to transfer ownership of the iconic structure from the bank to the state. Initially, the building was earmarked to serve as the headquarters for the Transport and Licensing Board. However, as officials inspected the premises, it became clear that the building's design, with its expansive halls, high ceilings, and strategic central location, was far more suitable for another purpose. Its grandeur and ample space made it perfect for preserving Kenya's history. Recognizing this, the government repurposed the building to house the nation's archival center. The structure, once a symbol of colonial-era commerce, was transformed into a repository of Kenya's past, a place where records, documents, and historical artifacts would be safeguarded for future generations. The building, with its neoclassical architecture, would now protect the legacy of a newly independent nation, preserving its stories for the world to see. In 1978, the grand neoclassical building that once housed the National Bank of India welcomed a new chapter in its storied history. The Kenya National Archives officially moved into the space, transforming the once commercial hub into a sanctuary for the nation's history. The building, with its stately columns and timeless design, now stood as a keeper of Kenya's collective memory. Over the years, the archives grew exponentially, becoming home to over 680 million documents, many of which date back to the time before British colonial rule. These priceless records encompass a vast array of historical information, from legal documents and treaties to cultural artifacts and letters, each one preserving a fragment of Kenya's rich and complex past. To protect these invaluable documents from the ravages of time, the Kenya National Archives has implemented stringent preservation measures. The building is carefully maintained, ensuring that humidity and sunlight, two of the greatest threats to paper, are kept at bay. Climate-controlled rooms protect the fragile records, ensuring that Kenya's history remains intact for generations to come. Today, the archives serve as a vital resource for researchers, historians, and citizens alike, offering a window into the nation's past while safeguarding its heritage for the future.